The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Wisconsin voters have been voting all day today to decide whether Scott Walker is going to be recalled, of course, governor of Wisconsin. We saw, I mean, Lewis, at this point, I don't even know how long it's been. We've been talking about the attacks on labor, the attacks on logic, the attacks on sound reasoning and good judgment on the behalf of elected officials. And now that is going to be put to the test. I have to admit, though, I'm not that optimistic that Walker is going to be recalled.
The attacks on unions?
Of course.
Yep.
Well, that's what I meant by labor.
Yeah, in general.
Sure.
I mean, attacks across the board.
What do you think is going to happen here? I just don't think they're going to have the votes for a couple of different reasons. Some kind of just sad commentaries on the state of politics. Others, accusations of foul play. Let's start with the first. I mean, we had these, there was the requirement of 540,208 signatures in order to trigger the recall election. And the final tally was over 900,000 signatures, which were verified by state officials. That suggests enthusiasm on behalf of the recallers, doesn't it?
Right.
However, then we saw the massive $30 million war chest that Scott Walker received the benefit of, the firewall of support from national Republicans. And I know it's not a done deal, but the polling is not looking particularly good. And it's one of those things where we still see an overwhelming number of races go to the candidate who was able to receive, to spend more money, who had more money spent on his behalf. And it probably is going to go that way in this particular case. I hate to say it. Maybe, you know, I can be cautiously optimistic. Maybe it won't be that way, but I'm just not that optimistic.
Money buys the best baseball teams, and money also buys you seats in office.
No question about it. And we're already seeing Democrats pointing out that Republicans are using some underhanded tactics, particularly the Milwaukee Democratic Party claims, and this is only alleged, Lewis, at this point it's too early to know whether it's true, that calls were going out to voters telling them that if they were one of the 900,000 who signed the recall, they didn't need to vote today. In other words, their vote is already going for Scott Walker simply by the sheer virtue of having signed in favor of having the election. And if that's the case, those are typical underhanded politics. I guess it's what we've come to expect. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, things like this are somehow legal, either through loopholes or actually just legal.
That wouldn't be legal, actually. If it is true and there is an investigation and it's proven that it was some kind of officially sanctioned robocall or don't get out the vote type of activity, then there actually could be repercussions. However,
there could also be a loophole.
There could also be a loophole, potentially. That could be the case. But it is, if it is as alleged, it is actually a violation of criminal law.
Right. Crazy stuff.
Just, you know how these things are. Nothing ever happens.
Believe me, I know.
Do you know?
Oh, I know, yeah. Well, we talk about it all the time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, on the show we talk about it.
Yeah, we do a show.
And it's discussed. It's a topic of discussion.
This is a great show.